thief. I smell you and I feel your air. Come into the light, where I can get a look at you.
My dear Frodo, you once asked me if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. And while I can honestly say there have been many iterations, beginning with text adventures, all the way up to the use of Lego, whatever that may be. I'm old now, Frodo. I'm not the same Hobbit as I once was. I think it is time I told you about Inevitable Entertainment's interpretation of what really happened. Following the huge success of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, interest in the story and Middle-earth in general surged, and rightfully so. Around that time, you couldn't escape it. I hadn't seen a film take over popular culture this much since Jurassic Park. It was everywhere. Trailers, TV spots, posters, bus ads, merchandise, cosplay, and, of course, the inevitable video game adaptions. Spearheading games based on the Peter Jackson films are several developers and publishers, creating titles from the great to the not-so-great. All well and good, mostly, but what of games based on the original text? That's where Vivendi Universal come in. In partnership with Tolkien Enterprises, Vivendi holds the right to produce video game adaptations based on the literary works. As far as I can ascertain, there have been a grand total of 4 games, one of which was cancelled. Their first game was The Fellowship of the Ring, and though it sold pretty well, games of The Two Towers and Return of the King had to be canned due to the popularity of EA's offerings. But a year later, another game in development did make it onto shelves, The Hobbit. Published in 1937 as a children's fantasy adventure, JRR Tolkien was unsure how people would take to hobbits, dwarves, elves and the realm of Middle-earth, but it quickly grew in popularity among children and adults. Tolkien pretty much set the template of how we perceive classic fantasy today, and that influence certainly has permeated the world of video games. So let's take a look at this rendition from 2003. The story is presented in this pleasing illustrated book style, but not all the time. More immediate happenings are FMVs and in-game cutscenes. This seems a bit inconsistent, but they don't trip over each other and they work fine. I won't be dwelling on the story a great deal, it is 80 years old after all, so sorry if there are spoilers. After Gandalf and the dwarves show up and eat Bilbo out of house and home, they declare their true intentions. Learning that they wanted to basically walk into a dragon's lair, Bilbo passes out. This segues into the combat tutorial.
Goblins attacking men and elves!
In his dream, Bilbo has to fight off a few waves of goblins. Functionally, this is a standard third-person platformer with real-time combat. X to jump, square to strike, and triangle to lock onto a single enemy. This works well as a tutorial, as this is a dream Bilbo can't die, but doesn't work so well as introducing the game as a whole. Me, being paranoid as I am, immediately got thinking, oh god, this is not just going to be a Middle-earth Dynasty Warriors, is it? Fortunately not. Coming to, Bilbo confesses to Gandalf that the exciting dream awoke a desire in him, so he agrees to go. Before heading to the Green Dragon to meet the dwarves and head off, Bilbo has free run of Hobbiton. Unlike the Fellowship of the Ring game before it, The Hobbit takes a few pages from RPGs. There are quests, side quests, collectibles, weapons, upgrades, treasures, etc. And like Bilbo's dream, Hobbiton acts like a tutorial for everything else. A nice easy stage to begin with, exploring and some quests to help the townsfolk.
Beautiful day, isn't it?
Good day, Gamma.
Hobbits are usually depicted as simple but hard-working. Not here. These are some of the most bone-idle, lazy sods who just stand around waiting for someone to wipe their asses. Not to mention questionable character design.
Hey, Bilbo!
Oh, jeez. The game's graphics are not going to tax the PS2 anytime, but they're colourful and detailed enough to fit the source material. But these hobbits, they look like shitty minifigures you would get inside a Kinder Surprise. Oh, and did I mention lazy? This first stage is called An Unexpected Party. It should be called An Unexpected Fetch Quest. Oh, Bilbo, would you be so kind as to get me this? I've lost my blah blah blah, would you find it for me? This lady wants me to fetch her butter churn. Do you want to know where it is? Over there! Just a few yards around the corner. That's a quest. And look, children playing hide and seek and task you to find them all. You know, like every JRPG ever. Okay, it's early days and I'm just making fun. There are two types of collectibles, and they're not just there for 100% completionists. These crystal things are courage points. Collecting these fill Bilbo's courage meter. Once filled, you are rewarded with additional health unit. These are silver pennies. Collecting these will allow Bilbo to purchase items and upgrades. Bilbo's current weapon is his walking stick, which also can be used as a pole vault for larger jumps. This move is mentioned in the manual, but the game has a habit of giving you useful information later than you really needed it. Well, once all that rudimentary bollocks is out the way, it's time to head over to the Green Dragon, meet the dwarves and head out. There are 11 stages in all, each following the story very closely, meaning a variety of locations and gameplay mechanics. Stealth is introduced when dealing with the trolls, and it works quite well. Hiding from their patrols and keeping off the leaves keeps you on your hairy toes. There's a stage along the cliff face where you're constantly being bombarded by the rock giants. Things get really complex when Bilbo descends to the goblin mines. Buggering ain't draft, look at this place! Okay, so let's take the mine seed from Temple of Doom, put it in a blender and shove it back into the computer. And this game has no map too.
Ugh, what nasty, slimy things live here.
This leads to the pivotal scene of meeting and riddling with Gollum. And of course, finding the ring.
What have I got in my pocket? That's my riddle. Not fair.
It would have been cool if they constructed a riddle minigame reminiscent of the Insult Sword Fighter from the Monkey Island series, but alas, it's all done in cutscene.
Now, show me the way out.
In between stages, you have the opportunity to spend the silver pennies at this faceless vendor. You never see who it is, and they're clearly following your party around wherever you go, so let's just assume it's this guy.
What are you buying, stranger?
Welcome to Lake Town.
When reaching the Lake Town stage, the game takes an unexpected but pleasing turn in direction. This is where the Hobbit becomes its most RPG-y. There's crime aplenty here in Lake Town, and Bilbo is suddenly tasked to be the town's private detective. Solving puzzles, tracking down smugglers, tailing people, following clues. It seems a bit out of place, but this was my favourite stage as there was so much to do. Despite the dwarves travelling with Bilbo every step of the way, they're pretty much of no use. They will be hanging around the start of the stage just waiting for Bilbo to report back, then later getting themselves kidnapped. Twice. With the ring in hand, Bilbo's stealthiness increases, which is perceived differently by races and creatures. Creatures can see Bilbo regardless, and elves and men can sense something but not sure what. The only restriction for using it is this bar. Once depleted, Bilbo reappears and it simply recharges. There is no degradation in Bilbo for using it all the time, but then some changes have to be made for a video game adaptation. A similar change was made for Sting. This elvish blade glows blue when enemies are near, but here it glows blue all the time as it also acts as a torch. The ring is at its most useful when confronting Smaug. Smaug's ring perception lies somewhere in between. He knows somebody's there, he just can't physically see them. Getting close to him in one of the most elaborate environments is tricky and tense. There are many platforms, hiding places, hanging chains and chandeliers to navigate, all the while trying not to walk on the treasure and wake him. Even with a successful effort, Bilbo still needs to escape. Does he make it out alive? Yes. Yes, he does. Before coming into this, I heard this was a bad game, so that's what I was expecting. But I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this. I had played the Fellowship of the Ring game some time back, and though not a terrible game, I was expecting something similar. This has the same amount of passion and detail to the source material, but has much more varied and deeper gameplay. This may have been released to cash in on the Tolkien upsurge, but this is no lazy shovelware. A mobile game and the LEGO Hobbit aside, there hasn't been an official, definitive New Line Cinema Hobbit game, so if you're after something like that, I'd recommend this. So take an unexpected Hobbit on this fun adventure, despite encouragement from Gandalf or not.
If you're referring to the incident with the dragon, I was barely involved.
Oh, bollocks were you? I have proof!
Our